Okay, hello and welcome to surface area of prisms, cones, and cylinders. Okay, so we've already talked about these shapes, right? Now we're going to figure out how would we wrap them? How would we cover them? So you're going to find that except for cones and cylinders, because they have circular bases, um, the surface area for pyramids is just the same, whereas you just find the area of all of the faces. Okay. So in these problems, they've actually helped us a little bit by shading the base, which is kind of nice. And then we just have to distinguish what are the sides and how many there are, and if there's any that are the same. So just as a friendly reminder, surface area of a 3D object is the sum of the areas of the faces. So again, we find the area of each face, add them up. Okay, so reminder, being organized in this is a really big deal. Okay. Um, I'm just going to show you the way I do it. You do you, but here we go. So, also friendly reminder, we're going to use capital B means the area of the base. Okay. We're dealing with a lot of triangles. These sides, pyramids have triangular sides, and we'll use little b for the height of the triangles, but big B is the area of the base. So if we look at example number 1, this is a rectangular pyramid because the base is shaped like a rectangle, and that's the shaded part. Okay, so I'm going to first find the area of the base. Okay, it's a rectangle, so I'm just going to do 11 times 15. And when I multiply those two together, I get 165. Okay, so what I'm technically doing, and this is just the way I organize it, is I'm going to find all the areas that I need, and then I'm going to figure out if there's any that are duplicates, and then I'm going to add them up. Okay, now this length down here is 15, and this length over here is 11. So what that means is the triangles that make up the point in the pyramid are not the same shape. So what I see is I see this triangle right here. Oops, if I can do that. I see this triangle right here, and I'm going to look at that one first. Okay, so I'm just going to call that triangle number 1. So I'd use my triangle, my little sub 1, base times height divided by 2. So I get 15 times 13, and I'm going to cut it in half. Okay, when I type that into the calculator, 15 times 13 cut in half, I get 97.5. Now, I also see a triangle over here. Okay, and I know it's hard for you to probably do the colors, but I got the face in the front, the face on the side. So I'm going to call that triangle 2. And that is, oh gosh, I just covered it up. It's 11 times 14. And I'm going to cut that in half. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 7 times 11 is 77. So I get 77. Okay, now I got to figure out what to do with these parts. So if this side right here is an area of 77, then over here, and it's kind of hard to see it, there is a matching triangle. So that means there's 2 of them, right? So I'm going to do 2 times 77, because there's 2 of those. Then I notice that there's also this front triangle, and then there's a matching one in the back. So I'm going to do 2 of those, which is 97.5. And then that's all the sides. We call that the lateral area. Then I'm going to add in the base, and the base was 165. So I get 100, this turns into 154 plus 195 plus 165. Okay, then I'm going to add them up. So the total surface area for this rectangular prism is 514. And don't forget your units. So this is yards squared. All right. Cool. Okay, so let's look at the next one, and hopefully we can kind of just start to see patterns. They're not all going to have two sets of triangles that match. That just happened to be the case. Sometimes there would have four. So rectangular would always have two because there's this side and then there's this side of the rectangle. But if it was a square, all four would match. Yeah, so I guess those are really the two options. I didn't really think that through when I said that earlier. Okay, so let's do the next one. We got the shaded area on the bottom, which is the base. So let me just switch colors here. I've got that the area, that's not even a different color. I've got that the area of the base, so capital B, is 16 times 8. And when I do 16 times 8, oh yeah, it is 8. When I did it in the notes, I actually said it was 16 times 18. So now I'm going to mess myself up. I better get my calculator out. Okay, so I got 16 times 8, right? And when I type that in, I get 128. Okay, so I'm having to squish it here. Okay, so there's my base. Now I see this triangle right here. And I'm going to call that triangle 1. And I get 16 times 11. I'm going to cut it in half. So I'm going to cut the 16 in half, and I'm going to get 8. And 8 times 11 is 88. Okay, now I see the other triangles over here on the side. I had to decide what color I wanted. And that's triangle number 2. And triangle number 2 is 8 times 13, cut in half. And I'm going to cut the 8 in half, which is 4. 4 times 13. 4 times 10 is 40. 4 times 3 is 12. 40 plus 12 is 52. Okay. Now, again, some of you might be thinking like, yeah, well, I'm going to cut it in half, but there's 2 of them, so I don't need to cut it in half. That's a great way to do it. Okay. Again, this is just the way I organize it. And I think it's helpful to just say what you found and then decide how many of each thing that you have. So I have 2 triangles that have an area of 88. I have 2 triangles that have an area of 52. And then I have my base, which was 128. Sorry, I should have used a different color. Now, if you wanted to do that right from the beginning, you could. I just feel like it makes the formula look a little overwhelming. Okay, so 88 times 2, 176. 52 times 2, 104. And 128. All right, let's add them up. So 176 plus 104 plus 128. Woohoo! Surface area is 408 feet squared. So hopefully you're starting to just get the hang of it. You're not maybe overwhelmed with surface area. You totally know how to find surface area of rectangles, and you totally know how to find area of triangles. It's just seeing the parts and then adding them up. Okay, so let's move on to triangular pyramids. These are a little bit trickier because they're hard to see, okay? So if you look at this, it might be like, whoa, your eyes are like wigging out, okay? So they helped us out. They shaded the base. So that shaded part is the bottom, and then everything comes up to a point, okay? Now, they do tell us that these triangles are equilateral triangles. So what that means is on this first example, this is a 9, this is a 9 over here, and then this length over here is also a 9. I'm not going to write it in because I feel like that's too many numbers. Okay, so equilateral triangle. All right, cool. So area of the base. So I'm going to start with my capital B. I'm just going to write capital B this time. And it's 9 times 8. And I'm going to cut it in half. So if I cut the 8 in half, I get 4. 9 times 4, I get 36. Okay, cool. Now, oh, I forgot to mention this. There are 2 different types of height in this problem. Okay, so if you look at this triangle right here, the base, the base. This is the height, okay, because it makes the little H. All right, and I'm going to draw a little arrow, and I'm going to call this the base height. The base height is how tall the triangle is on the bottom of the shape. Now, there's another height because the sides are triangles, and those triangles also have a height. So this right here, this 12 right here, is called the slant height. Okay, and the slant height is the height of the pyramid that's on the side. So the height is at a slant. Okay, like that. And we say that the slant height, let's put it over here. The slant height, not to be confused with length, it's also a cursive L. Oh, you can't even see that. Sorry, because the video's in that corner. Okay, well, let's erase that. Okay, let's write that somewhere else. Sorry about that. Where was I? Let's put it here. A cursive L right there is the slant height. So you can start calling it that, or if you're like, that's really confusing, then you can just kind of try to visualize this triangle that's over here in the back. Okay, it goes like that. And then there's the height right there. Okay. So because this is an equilateral triangular pyramid, all three sides have the exact same area. So I'm going to find the area of one of those side triangles. So I'm going to call it a side triangle. I don't know, why not? I know that the base of that side triangle is still 9. And I know that the height is 12, and I'm going to cut it in half. Okay, so I'm going to cut the 12 in half because it's even to get 6, and 6 times 9 is 54. Okay, I have all the information. I know that my rectangular pyramid, it's hard to say sometimes. I know my triangular pyramid has a base, so I'm going to write 36. And it has 3 sides with the same area, so I'm going to do 3 times 54. 3 times 54 is, bum, bum, bum. What is that? 150 plus 12. So 162 plus 36 for a grand total of a surface area of 198 inches squared. Okay. So we found the base. It's had a base and a height. Cut it in half. Then we found the side triangles, same base, different height, and then we plugged them into what we knew we had to add up. Okay, let's do one more of those. All right. So take a minute, see if you can identify which of those is the height of the base. Which is the height of the base? If you said 15, you're right. Here's the height of the base right here. Okay, because remember it makes that 90-degree angle. Okay, cool. So area of the base. The bottom, remember it's the part that forms the right angle. This is an equilateral triangle. So the bottom is 17 and the height is 15, and we're going to cut it in half because it's a triangle. When I type that into the calculator, I get 127.5. Okay, now let's find the height of the sides. So the only other height that's on there is that 11. Okay, so let's do the triangle. We call that side triangle. Let's be consistent here. So the side triangle has a base of 17 and a height of 11. And we're going to cut it in half because it's a triangle. Okay, when I type that in and cut it in half, I get 93.5. So this triangular pyramid has a base, which is 127.5. And I apologize if that's been hiding back there. Plus, it has 3 triangles on the side that are all the same area. Okay, so I get 100, when I do this one right here, I get 280.5. And then 127.5. You can do those at the same time. Your calculators aren't that awesome, like mine. Oops, I gotta put it close. There's my awesome calculator. So I would do the second one first and then add it. But anyway, when you do that, you get a surface area of 408 yards squared. Okay, we found the area of the base, we found the area of the sides, we added them up. Okay, so yay, everybody's favorite time. Time for an on your own. Bum, bum, bum. This is where you pause the video. Yep, actually pause it. Take a minute and find the surface area of that triangular pyramid. And if you want to organize it a different way, that's great. If you end up doing it a different way and you get it wrong, you should probably do it my way. Just saying. Okay, I will see you in a sec. Okay, welcome back. So, did you get 348 square feet? So if not, check and see what I did. I did the base, the area of the base. So it's an equilateral triangle. So 12 times 10, cut it in half. I got 60. Then that side triangle has a base of 12 and a height of 16, also cut in half, and you get 96. And there's one base and there are 3 congruent triangles on the sides that come up to the point. So when you add all those together, I get 348. Cool. If you get that right, move on. If not, pause, maybe try it again, maybe look back at the examples that we just did. These are the hardest part of this assignment, okay? But you can do it. All right, cool. So let's move on to cones, surface area of cones. I wonder when you need to know surface area of cones. Oh yeah, you own an ice cream shop and you're making a waffle cone? Yeah. Maybe you're making that little paper cup that they give you to drink out of. Do you know why they have those? Yeah, lots of restaurants have them for employees. So you don't like get a drink cup, set it down, and there's just like all these drink cups laying around. It's so that you take a drink and then you just toss it. So it's kind of wasteful, especially if you need like 10 drinks in a night. But it's a way to be more what's the word? Sanitary. All right. So surface area cones. Surface area of cones, cones all have a circle. Okay. So we're going to put over here that surface area is always the base, which is a circle. Okay. Plus the side area. Okay. I don't really know of another term for it. So we're just going to say the side area. Now, the side area of a cone, when you open it up, it's this weird shape. Okay. So again, just like circles and determining the, where pi came from, 3.14, on and on, they found out that there's a relationship every time to find the surface area. And they brought back in that little L I was talking about earlier. And remember that L means the slant height. Okay, and I'll talk about that in just a sec. Slant height. And it's exactly what it says. It's the height of the slant. Okay. So the formula for surface area, okay, surface area is the area of the base. The base is a circle. So it's pi times radius squared. So that's part of it. Okay. Now for that side area, the formula is a little bit different. So we're going to add the side area. Oh, oops, I forgot to put this. I wanted to say that this is the base. Oh, I meant to put a capital B. So that's the base. Okay, now the side area is this weird part. Pi times the radius times the slant height. So this represents the side area. Okay, and I don't know how they came up with that. but you are going to see slant height in quite a few things moving forward in your math career. So now you know. All that talking about drinks made me thirsty. Okay, so we're going to find the surface area of the cone. We're going to use 3.14 for pi, so your answers match mine. Round to the nearest tenth and include units. Okay, so here's the deal. On the homework, I'm going to ask you to write down the formula that you used to solve these problems. Okay, now the ones we were just looking at don't necessarily have a formula, but this one and the next ones do. And I find that if you don't write the formula down and plug things into the right place, you end up with a completely different answer. So it's really helpful if you decide, hey, this is a cone, I'm going to use the cone formula. Or if you look on the next one, hey, it's a cylinder, I should use the cylinder formula. Okay, especially since this one has so many things in it. All right, so for number 5, surface area of a cone, I'm going to write the formula. Surface area is pi r squared. I'm taking the little dots out, by the way, plus pi r l. Okay. Now, there's 2 variables in this formula. That's r, radius. So up here, I'm going to identify what the radius is. And the radius is 9. The other variable is this L right here, right? And pi, we already know what pi is. So then up here, I need to also say what the slant height is. And guess what? Well, it's the other number in the picture, but also it's the height that's at a slant. Okay, now this height doesn't have a 90-degree angle anywhere. Okay, it doesn't work like that. But it's the height of the slant. Okay, so it's 11. All right, so this is a lot of calculation, so be really careful as you type stuff into the calculator, okay? So I'm going to say that surface area equals, I'm going to turn pi into 3.14. I'm going to take my radius, 9 squared. You could also write 81 right here, plus 3.14. Oops, forgot the 1. Times the radius times the slant height. Whoa, there's a lot going on there. Okay, now I'm going to simplify the left. Oops, I don't know what that is. I'm going to simplify this part. I know 9 times 9 is 81. So I'm going to do 81 times 3.14. And I get 254.34. Don't round to the nearest tenth until the very end, okay? Then on my calculator, I'm going to type in 3.14 times 9 times 11. And I get 310.86. Cool. Now I just add them together. So plus 254.34 for a grand total of surface area is 565.2 feet squared. Sweet. Okay, so hopefully you're starting to see that organization is really important. Okay, you probably heard, I've already said it like 20 times. Okay, so number 6, it's a cone. Let's use the same formula. Surface area is pi times radius squared plus pi times the radius times the slant height. Well, I like that color. Okay, so my radius is 2 and my slant height is 7. All right, let's plug them in. 3.14 times radius squared. 2 squared is just 4, so I'm just going to write 4. Whoa, maybe. I'm just going to write 4 plus 3.14 times 2 times 7. Okay, so I don't know if you noticed, but I'm starting to use dots for multiplication. Hopefully that's not too confusing because 3.14 also has a decimal in it. If you're like, yeah, that's weird, you can remember, you can always do this, right? You could always do that. Okay, cool. So 3.14 times 4 is 12.56 plus 14 times 3.14 is 43.96. Okay, let's add them together. Plus 12.56. I get 56. This is weird. I didn't even notice this earlier. 56.5. The thing that I think is weird about it is the last answer was 565. And this one's 56.5. Okay, you guessed it. Take a second. Try the on your own. I will see you soon. Okay, hopefully you got 235.5 yards squared. My radius is 5, my slant height was 10. I plugged them in, and that's what I got. All right, get help if you missed it. Look back at other examples. Okay, last shape, cylinders. So no more points, no more pointy tops. Okay, cylinders look like that, mostly like number 8. That's how we're used to seeing them. Okay, so back to two bases. All right, cylinders have circles as their two bases. Remember, the two bases are parallel to one another and they're congruent. And the way you find the area of a circle is pi r squared. Okay. Now, to find the side area of a circle, side, see what I'm doing there? I'm going around the circle, right? The distance around is the circumference. So we're going to find the circumference. And we're going to multiply it by the height. And the way we find circumference, I just spelled conference. Okay, well, let's just back that up. Sorry about that. Maybe you were noticing that as I spelled it. Circumference, but not with an S, weird. Conference. Multiply the circumference by the height. So we're going to do 2 pi r, and then times the height would be times h. So guess what the formula is? The formula for surface area is pi r. But, oh, I almost said it wrong. How many bases are there? 2. So we're going to do 2 pi r squared, because this is the two bases. And we're going to add it to 2 pi r, that's the circumference, times the height, h. And this is the side area. Do you guys know what shape the side of a cylinder makes if you like cut a cylinder and opened it? It's actually a rectangle. Yeah. Yeah, but it's hard to figure out the dimensions unless you cut it open and measure it, which is why we have a formula. Okay, cool. So again, we're going to use a formula. Okay, so write it down. I'm just going to write it in the middle here, so it's just there, okay? Because this one is so similar to the cone one, and you don't want to get them mixed up. So, surface area is 2 pi r squared. Oh my gosh, forgot the 2. Poor little guy. 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Circumference times the height. Okay, my two variables are r for radius. This is not the radius. This is the diameter. So if I cut it in half, my radius is 11.5. And the height connects the two circular bases, and it's the only other number in the problem, which is not the case. If you do blue, if you decide to do the blue homework, you actually have to find the slant height. And I'll give you a hint. It's a theorem that we used earlier in the year. Okay, so here we go. 2, and I'm going to use my parentheses this time. 3.14 times 11.5 squared plus 2 times 3.14 times 11.5 times 9. Ooh, so many things. Isn't this crazy? Who figured this out? Okay, order of operations. I'm going to do the squared first. 11.5 times 11.5. 132.25. Leave it like that. So I am going to do this right here. 2 times 3.14. I can do that in my head. So 6.28 times 132.25. Now I'm just going to plug all the other things into the calculator and do it at once. Okay, because it's just multiplication. Oops, wrong thing. So 6.28 times 11.5 times 9. I get 649.98. 649.98. Okay, I'm going to multiply the other two numbers on the left. 6.28 times 132.25. 830.53. Remember, we're not going to round to the end. Plus 649.98. Okay, plus 649.98 for a grand total of, see if I got the same thing as last time. Yeah, I did. Surface area is 1,480.5 meters squared. Phew. Okay, we're going to do one more. If you want to pause the video and make it on your own, that's fine. But please check and make sure you got it right. If you're like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And you need another example, tune in. Here we go. Okay, what's a fun color? I'm going to do this one. Okay, I'm using this formula, right? So I'm just going to leave it right there. I'm not actually going to write it this time, but on the homework, please write it because I'm giving you all 4 shapes and they're all mixed up. So here we go. My radius is 6. My height is 21. Okay. 2 times 3.14 times my radius squared, and 6 times 6, I'm just going to write 36, plus 2 times 3.14 times 6 times 21. Whew, so many. Okay, now I'm going to simplify the left first. So 6.28 times 36, and I get 226.08 plus, now I'm going to do this side. Okay, so 6.28 times 6 times 21. 791.28. Okay, almost done. Now I add those two together. So I'm adding the area of the sides to the area of the two bases. So 226.08. All right. So the surface area is 1,017.36, which is 0.4 centimeters squared. Oh my goodness. Okay, I write small. Maybe you don't. When you do the homework, don't show all your work on one piece of paper. People like to tell me, I use scratch paper. I'm like, well, do it all in one spot. And give yourself enough room. Okay, don't pre-number the problem. All right, cool. So there is a green homework, there is a blue homework. Blue, you have to use that theorem that I was telling you about earlier. And you're also going to do problems where they're going to give you the surface area and you have to find the unknown radius or slant height. They're hard. So plug everything into the formula, solve for the only variable that's left. And you might have to combine like terms. I'll just give you that hint. Okay, well, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. If you get confused, watch it again. Okay, talk to a friend. You got this. And we will come back and see these again before the test. So don't worry if you're struggling on the first time. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bye.